You've tuned into Tomcat Tales, the story of Ashland's legends from the gridiron, the court, the diamond, and beyond. It's a deep dive into Ashland Tomcat sports history. Now, here's your host, Mark Maynard.
Well, welcome to Tomcat Tales. We're here for our second episode, and we hope you got to watch or listen to the first one. It was really good. We're talking to Herb Conley, and we talked about his first season, 1968. And Herb, it was it wasn't a bad year. It was 7-3-1. You had to be pretty happy with that, at the end of that season.
Well, at the end of the season, look back on it, we had players very inexperienced. Had some starters come back, but just a few. And the one that really thought was going to help the football team was John Burton, and John didn't get a play. And so that was a big hurt right off the bat. But, we feel like we got a little bit accomplished that year, but it wouldn't show on the next 2 years.
Right. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the 1969 Tomcat season. They finished 4-7. Interesting season, though, when you look back at it. And I remember that Calixburg game so well. Y'all opened the season, Herb, with Calixburg. And, boy, it was bad for Calixburg. It was 75-0, one of the biggest wins in margin-wise in Tomcat history.
Well, I tell you what, I knew that Calixburg was down, and we surely didn't run the score up. I had players that was on the third and fourth team that year that scored touchdowns, and then they quit after the third game. We lost a lot of those guys after the third game. They quit. And, everybody played, a lot of them scored, and it was just one of those kind of nights that they couldn't stop anything. And Calixburg was not a very good football team. It's just that simple.
Right. And I think I talked to you about this previously. I remember watching that game and looking at the Calixburg sideline, and I think it was, late in the second half. I think they had two players on the sideline, 11 playing. They had several kids hurt in that game. And it wasn't anything Ashland did. It was just overmatched.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's hot, and we played a lot of people. I mean, we played a lot of people. When you can do that, and if you're empty-handed on the other side and you're not that good, and I think they lost a lot of people from the year before.
Right, and because they weren't bad the year before. It's 13-0 game that you all won.
Exactly.
A close ball game.
Exactly.
And they lost their coach mainly.
Yeah, that was Jack Eisen. I was trying to think about that. Jack Eisen, who went to Eastern and did a great job at Eastern.
Right, yeah. In that game, of course, in 69, you have Abrams and Mantle back. Mike Abrams and Joe Mantle. A lot of experience. They played every game for you as juniors, and they come back, and this is their senior year, and they both had really big games in that opener, as, of course, did a lot of people.
Well, Joe Mantle was one of the best football players that ever played at Ashland. I mean, all around, he could do it all. He was something else. He could catch it. He could run with it. He could play defense. You name it, Joe could do it. And Mike Abrams was a good runner, very good runner. And he played a little defense for us, but Mike was kind of he was a very dedicated player. Worked on them weights and got big. He wasn't real big. He probably 5'7", about 160 pounds.
Yeah.
But he was a hard runner.
Well, those guys kind of shared the lead back role, I guess, for you that year. They both carried it almost identical number of times. And, of course, you threw a lot to Joe as well. He had 17 receptions, which was a lot for your team.
Exactly.
You didn't throw the ball too much.
Yeah, when I tell people, we threw a lot, I said, about 17 passes or 18 passes to one guy. Oh, is that right?
Now, sometimes guys get 10, 12 catches in a game.
Exactly.
If the game's changed a lot. So you open with Calixburg, 75-0. Everybody's probably excited in Ashland. Oh my, we got a great team. We won 75-0. They're not looking at Calixburg's probably not that good, but they're not looking at that. They're looking at the scoreboard. And the next week you're playing Middlesboro, and everybody's thinking, Middlesboro is pretty good. And you had a friend who coached there.
Yeah, Tom Stapleton. Tom and I played together at the Eastern. He was fullback. He played behind me, and if I got hurt, he entered the game. We're great friends.
Okay, so you set this game up, and I'm sure you expected a tough ball game from them.
Always. Anybody that plays old Tom's team better be ready.
Yeah, obviously the Tomcats were. You won that game 42-0. So you start off the season, you've outscored people 75-0 and 42-0. And I know, because I remember, and I was just a little guy. I was 12 or so, 11, I guess. And I remember how excited everybody was about the Tomcats. 2-0, and look what we've done. We've shut these people out. We were scoring all these points. And as you know, you can't live on last week, can you?
Exactly. I'm smart enough to know, even though I was a young coach, I knew that, I didn't want to beat them that bad. And so that's the reason we played guys that in 3 or 4 ball games, they had quit the team. And they weren't, they just didn't want to play football. But they played that game. They scored touchdowns. They had a big time. 3 games later, they're gone.
So, yeah. Ashland's a tough place to coach. And you would probably attest to that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can you talk about that? I mean, is it just the expectation?
Well, I think because I played on an undefeated football team in '58, and shoot, when we played, I worried about it, and the other guys worried about it because we had to win. Because the year before that, they'd go 5-6 years and never lose a game, win a state championship. Back then, they won one year, they won the national championship.
Right.
So the expectations of high school football here in Ashland has been big for years. A lot of people don't, and it's not as big now as it was then because you had Armco. Had them guys down there betting big money all the time. And then I'd see them on the streets and say, "Hey, Herb, you going to win that game? You got to win by 40. I got some money on that." I said, 40 points? You give them 40 points? I said, "You guys are nuts."
Yeah, there was a lot of that went on down there.
I tell you what, I had my friend Tom Scott, who coached up there at Boyd County. He calls me after he quits when we're playing Boyd County. And he mentioned to me, he said, "Hey, Herb, you think you can beat them 40 points?" I said, "No, we can't beat them 40. I think we beat them 43-0. And the next year, he did the same thing. He said, "I've got 20 on you guys to win. Can you do it?" I said, "Tom, listen, I don't want any of this stuff." I said, "We're going to beat them as bad as we can, and I've always told you that." And he said, he told me the same thing.
Yeah.
So that year, we beat them 22-0. So we had to win them. But I didn't. I went for 2. But I went for 2 because I wanted to.
Because you wanted to score.
Be as big as it could.
Yeah. And I guess, when you're playing your rival like that, you do want to kind of set the tone a little bit.
Exactly, you do, and you want them to know. Now, Tom and I always had I knew that he felt that way. If he had beat us 50, he was going to beat us 50. So I definitely was going to beat him as bad as I could, But I was going to play a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. I played a lot of people.
Right.
And he did too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been a great rivalry through the years. So, of course, the third week of the season in '69 here, Stonewall Jackson is coming to Putnam Stadium. That's going to be a ball game, and I would say the anticipation of that game was probably pretty big with you guys being 2-0. I don't know what their record was at the time, but I'm sure probably 1-0 or 2-0. And Stonewall Jackson, just that name, you kind of cringe with that, because they could play.
They've always been a power in West Virginia.
Yeah, a team Ashland's played through the years, especially, way back. I'm talking about, that was a team that they kind of measured themselves against.
Sure, you take Stonewall Jackson, you take Huntington East, Huntington High School, Portsmouth. Well, that's big rivals. Matter of fact, people really knew what happened a lot of times in ball games before and after the game. Now, you drive your car over to Putnam Stadium. When you come back and get in the game, the windows may be knocked out, fenders taken off. I mean, it was awful. Same way when we went to that. We went to places. I'd make them, as soon as we got wind, I got them on the bus, keep your headgears on, and you bend over. Don't look out the window.
Get out of there.
Yeah, so we get out. Well, I'd tell them when to look up.
Yeah. This game was a tight one, and 14-8, you all lose, come up on the short end there, and now everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, we lost! We were 2-0 and we won by so much. How could we lose? How could we only score 8 points?" That had to be probably a tough loss. I mean, any loss like that's difficult.
Yeah, well, I knew it was going to be a tough game, and I knew the difference in the competition we were getting ready to play. It's going to be a little different. And I think the kids knew that too. They were probably a better football team than we were.
Yeah. And
they were big, they were strong, they had more speed. And because I remember Stonewall always had big kids, fast kids. And
I think you all had beat them the year before, so that's kind of in their heads a little bit, saying, we're going to get these guys back.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that was at our place, wasn't it?
This one was at your place.
Yeah.
This one was Putnam.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, I can remember a big crowd, gathering for this game. You're 2-0, and you're killing people, and I think people are maybe expecting that.
Exactly.
Look, we're going to take Stonewall Jackson out too, because we're the Tomcats, and doesn't always work that way. So that's so you're 2-1. Okay, people are probably hanging with you because Boyd County is up next, and Boyd County. That game is going to be out at Cannonsburg. Always tough to go out there.
Exactly.
You're down that hill. There's no stands for the visiting team. There's people lined up all over the daggone place watching that game.
On that hill too.
On that hillside, and and you had a lot of battles out there through the years, and I'm sure it wasn't your favorite place to go.
No.
So you're taking this team in there. You're 2-1. I don't know what Boyd County was at that time. They're a pretty good football team though. A good defensive team, and it's a great game, another great game, and you guys lose though 12-6.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that one.
Well, that was a tight ball game, and I think they were picked to win more than over us. Picked to win over us because they had a lot of kids coming back, and they were getting ready to have a powerhouse in there for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And they were looking forward to that because I remember Tom telling me he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And they were really good. And from that time, I think he won runner-up in the state and against
73 Paducah Tillman. Mm-hmm.
Paducah. And then I think
they were ranked number 1 the next year and got upset.
Yeah, by Middlesboro.
By Middlesboro.
And then what year was that?
That was 74.
Okay, and then in 75, Tom leaves 74.
Right.
75, Kenny had a team, and they were good too.
James Tackett was on that team.
Yeah.
Really good ball. Went to WVU.
Yeah, he's one of the best backs played out there ever.
Yeah, big old kid. Of course, unfortunately for Boyd County, you guys were coming too about the same time.
Yeah.
So you're both probably at a similar point in your programs at this point, and you're both, like we talked about last week, you're both molded in the same way. Really, I mean, it's toughness, it's hard hitting, it's
defense,
it's running game. Who can run over the other guy?
Exactly.
And man, there's some collisions.
Yeah, if you wanted to come to a ball game where they're going to go flat and get after you, you'd want to see an Ashland Boyd County game because both teams would run the ball right at you and make you stop us. If not, we'd throw a pass every now and then, kind of
loosen you up.
Yeah, loosen you up and break the fans upstairs and say, hey, we'll throw.
Well, and the play I always remember Ashland running, and Ironton runs it well too. It's just that little pop pass over the middle, tight end, cutting across the middle.
Yeah.
A play fake, and that guy's open.
Yeah.
Because everybody's converging on the ball carrier.
Inside.
Everything. And in the '60s, late '60s, and for many even early '70s too. It was a game between the tackles.
Exactly.
It was who was strongest up in that area, and you both were pretty daggone good. As the score reflects, it's 12-6. You had.
And we stressed defense.
Yeah.
Both teams stressed defense.
Exactly.
Always.
Yeah.
Not many people scored a whole lot of points against. You can look at that after the Highlands game. There wasn't enough people score a whole lot of points on us.
No. No, your team was being made defensively. I think that's a reputation you all probably had more than if you had a reputation. It was defense.
Yeah, we were starting to come defensively.
I was going to ask you about this because I remember the Bad Cat Award. And it was always for the biggest hit of the game. When did you start that? Do you remember?
We started that when Bill Tom got there because we were hitting, and some of the players were really getting it. He said, well, them guys are tough. He said, they'll hit. I said, yeah, we got to keep this going. And he said, we all, who gets the hardest hit, call him a bad cat. I said, that sounds good. Bill Tom was good.
And it took off.
Oh, it took off. Then we come up with all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Offensive player,
Jericho.
Defense. We had the best defensive player. We had about 10 awards you could win.
Each week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That keeps the kids motivated.
Oh, yeah. And we had when Randy Cooper on the Bluegrass, we gave the Bad Cat Award or the Most Valuable Player Award or the Best Offensive Back or Defensive Back or one of the awards. They got a free meal. I don't know if that was legal or not.
Probably wasn't, but that's okay.
But we always did.
I wondered about that. Okay, so now we're still in the '69 season. you're 2-2 after that great start, after that great 2-0 start. That's kind of forgotten now, isn't it?
Oh,
by
yeah.
Ashland fans.
Yeah, the Wolves are out now.
Yeah. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, I could tell the big difference, before the game, and when people would see me in the store or something, no one ever said anything to me. They just kind of look at me like, oh, I need to get away from you.
You can't coach.
Yeah, you're not a coach. You got to get out of here and get you a job here at the grocery store or something. But I kind of ignored it and went on, and things would get better. I knew they would, because I tell you what, in the future there, I could see down below what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I knew I had some good players from both junior highs, and I knew a lot of their families and what they were. People really orientated to football. Yeah. And I knew that they were going to be a pretty good.
Just had to hang in there, didn't you?
Just had to hang on.
Yeah, and Ashland hanging on means winning. And you played at Covington Homes at Putnam Stadium. Yeah, played Covington Homes at Putnam Stadium the next week, and they got a pretty good ball club.
They're very good.
Yeah,
they're very good. I remember they had a back there was considered one of the best backs in the state. I don't know if he went someplace to Big Ten or something. He went to big school. Maybe went to Cincinnati or went to major college.
Yeah,
and
he wore you out.
Yeah, he did. But they not only had him, they had a bunch of. For some reason, they had some kind of mess up with. There's another school down around there. There's arguing about players or something, and they got a few of them. A few of the good ones, and they were having some problems. I can't remember exactly which school that was doing it, because I was talking to their coach. He said, "Well, we lost a few good players."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Covington Homes, they come in and they come to Putnam Stadium and they pin a loss on you. That's a second home loss now in 3 weeks. So that's never good.
No, that's not good. It was the same week. I guess the crowds started to get a little lower. Right. They started dipping down, and I could tell people wasn't very satisfied. And my wife Janice said that it was up in the stands. They're starting to yell at you a little more, and she said, "I don't like that."
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, we'll just have to deal with it and go from there."
Right. She probably had to hold her tongue a little bit.
Well, Janice she wouldn't have never said anything, but she might have looked at him. But I don't think she would have ever said anything to him. She was just that type of person. She.
That's tough on her, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, very tough on her, very tough. I tell you what, Mark, during that time, I couldn't tell you what period of time it was, but after we lost one of these ball games, one of the 4 there we've lost, somebody sent a letter to me. Of course, I'm not home when it comes, and she's there, and she gets it, and I didn't know about it for up until 1975, and I found it, and she had put it up, but she was going to throw it away. It was with a coach. He's running now. He's running out of the stadium with a rope around his neck, and the people chased him out of the scene, and he says, "Goodbye, Herb. We're going to hang you too."
Wow.
Yeah.
So she got that letter, but she didn't tell you.
No, I didn't know about it until about 10, 15 years later. I was going through that drawer. I didn't go through drawers, but whatever I've got.
Just kind of stumbled onto it.
Yeah. And I went like that. I said, "Hey, Janice, come here a minute. What is this?" She said, "Oh, my goodness, I was going to throw that away and forgot." I said, "Well, I'm glad you did, and I'm sure glad to know how the people felt about me."
Yeah, I tell you, it's just it's a hard thing being a coach, and it's a hard thing being a football coach. I think in Ashland, it always has been. I don't care. Vic would tell you the same thing.
Oh yeah, Vic went through it.
He went through it. I mean, it's like
went through it.
Oh my, yeah. You can't lose. No. Is what it amounts to.
Me and Vic probably had more of a chance than anyone if they had bad trouble, because the reason why, we're an Ashland boy.
Yeah.
And we played at Ashland, and that helped some.
Yeah.
And not much, but it helped some.
Right.
Because we're Ashland, they don't want anybody from Ashland to fail.
Right.
They didn't care about the other guys. But they didn't want them to fail because of Ashland. That if they're going to fail, we'll put you out.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah. Well, I know, even in Ashland basketball, you look at their legacy, and it's the same kind of thing. And it was like, if you did well, you moved on, to college or to another bigger program or whatever. if you didn't do well, you moved out.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it was not it was about winning, and I think part of it is we didn't have a college here in town. We had Moorhead fairly close, and of course everybody follows UK and that kind of thing. But this was the thing they followed. Every Friday night, man, they were excited.
This is what everybody lived for on Friday nights. They'd go home, eat, and then get ready to go get dressed and get to the game. Get there early a lot of times.
And you always had the guy standing up there in the back, on the back rows. They didn't even sit down.
Oh yeah.
And they were analyzing every play.
Yeah.
And every call you made.
They might have been one of the top. That group probably 70% of them were a lot of the critics.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody knew a better way.
Yeah.
Right? And it's easy to second guess in football too, obviously. So you got Russell coming up, and you've lost 3 in a row after winning 2 in a row. You got to get things going again, and especially here's a rival, Russell, and I don't know Russell at that point. I'm not sure they'd ever beaten Ashland even.
No. There's a few games more, and they get
Yeah.
a few years the next year. I think is when they get it.
Yeah, they get you at some point.
1970, I believe.
I think you're right, but it's important to win that game.
Oh, exactly. Oh yeah.
Got to beat your rivals,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's you think about Ashland. They were the big dog, I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, most of these teams around here wouldn't even play them.
Exactly.
And Ashland really didn't want to play them because it wasn't going to be a game. They were going
And a lot of people outside of this Ashland area didn't want to play because I had to really go hard to get games a lot of times. I had to pay Bryan Station, Lafayette, and those people before we got into districts and things with them, $2,500 to come to play.
Wow! So you better have a packed house.
Yeah.
Just to pay the bill.
Yeah, because back then to get in the game, I think it was $1 for adults and 50 cents for students.
Yeah. So you better pack that place.
Yeah, give them $2,500.
That's a lot of money for that time. So Joe Mantle goes wild in that game. He rushed for 139 yards, and you guys win the game easily, 32-8.
Was it 32-8?
Yeah, you run away with it. So you get a breath there. You're just like, okay, we needed that win, and you played well. You beat probably a decent Russell team. I'd say they were pretty good. Maybe a little still intimidated by the Tomcat name and all that. And I think that happens. I think
sure,
the name, the jersey means something.
It meant a lot, and that's what we wanted. We always wanted that, and then to come to Ashland. A lot of people, when they come to Ashland, talked about it all the time. We have to go. They always called it the little dingy dressing rooms. They
hated that.
They see them old dingy, and then you come out and you beat the tar out of us. Said, "Can't you all afford any better dressing rooms?"
Man, yeah.
I mean, that's one of the coaches says that's awful.
The showers were terrible.
Oh, yeah, it was awful. I said, "You all do that on purpose? They want to come over and look at our side. I always wanted to come over."
Yeah.
I took them over one day, just come by and talk to them, and they said, "Let's go by the same. I'd like to see inside." I said, "Okay." That's right, same as over our side. I said,
yeah. I was going to say, it wasn't like it was just all painted up fancy and everything on the home side.
Exactly.
And I can remember playing JFL, and you wanted to be the home team in JFL because you got to dress in the Tomcat dressing room.
Yeah.
But and I remember dressing in the other one, and it was pretty bad. I mean, it was nasty looking, And there was some difference, but just cleaning or whatever, or a light burnout or that kind of thing. But I always thought it was part of the not that you did it on purpose, but it was part of the intimidation too.
Well, matter of fact, when I started coaching there, I'd go over and clean it up. Well, I went over and cleaned it up, and I painted our side myself. My dad had a paint contractor, and so I got a spray gun and all my outfit over there and come in and sprayed it all, inside. And I got the finance officer down at Ashland, who was at the time.
Was that Bert?
Bert Daly. And Bert, I finally got him. He's a hard guy to get anything out. But I wanted to get this new lockers in there. Had to go to the superintendent. That's when Jewett was there. And I'll never will forget the day I went in and started talking to him. He started reading the paper. I got a little upset. I said, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't come down here for you to read the paper to me or to you. I said, I want to talk to you about the dressing room. It's awful. And I told him I wanted to get the locker room. I want to put carpet in it, and some lockers in there where my players can put their helmets or whatever when we practice it. I said, we're going to start coming over here and use it as our weight room in off season, and that's what we did.
Right.
But he never did give me an okay, and so about 2-3 days after that, they started on the dressing room. Got it. That's the first time I ever asked him for anything, and they got anything good.
While we're on that plane a little bit, well, how much did you get paid to coach? Do you remember?
I know exactly how much I got paid. I got $2,400 to coach. That's from the day I got there and to the day I left. It's the same.
Are you kidding?
No.
$2,400.
And they but you know when they started when God changed that, as I said, principal at when I moved from the principal over to Ready Middle School.
Yeah.
I told them I want to take that job on what they was offered me. I said that's not enough. I said that place is a mess, and it's going to be tough, and I don't want to be bothered by board members and all these other people. If it's going to be done, I'm going to have some help, and leave me alone. And that's what they did. They really backed me and everything, and we got that school straightened out. And people liked to come there, and the kids were great, and the building stayed like a brand new building.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, you made a huge difference over there, just bringing some discipline and among everybody, teachers, students, whatever.
We all shaped. Everybody was working together.
Yeah, and that's what that's how you build winning football teams.
Exactly.
So $2,400. Wow. I know there had to be many Friday nights you came home and thought, man, is this even worth it?
Well, really, I never thought about the money, or I didn't think about. I didn't think about even being fired. It didn't enter my mind I was going to be fired.
Yeah.
But I eventually got there. But later on, I got to thinking more about I've got to get something going here. But it didn't.
Yeah.
And but one thing I kept looking at, that ninth grade bunch coming in, and I said, I'm going to see how good attitudes they got. And we'll go from there.
And that was Steve Canute and those guys?
No, that was Steve Canute was a junior.
Okay.
When they come over
here. Oh, you're talking about the Jaws group that's coming?
Yeah.
So we've played Russell now, and you're back to 500. You're 3-3. We talked about this just a minute ago. Portsmouth is the next opponent. They are coming to Putnam Stadium as well. And, Portsmouth, long rivalry with Ashland. Some great games. They have a tradition there, much like Ashland.
Yeah.
That town, and of course they had pro football there. That they can play football. They love their football, much like Ashland.
You know what? They beat us when I was a junior. 75. I think it was 75.
Wow.
No, 75 nothing because that'd been.
That was this one, yeah.
I think they scored 75 points on us.
Maybe
it's 35 or 75.
I'll look that up. Here's 45-0.
45.
That's pretty bad though.
45-0. Yeah.
And that was at Portsmouth that year. That was your junior.
Yeah, I just got to play about maybe 3 or 4 minutes. I'd had lime burns in my legs, and there was blood. And I went in about 2 plays, and they hit me, and that blood just started coming down. So they took me out, and I didn't play no more.
Wow. Well, that explains some of that 45. So Portsmouth comes into town. They're like I say, they're good. And again, the same kind of football. Ironton, Ashland, Portsmouth, Boyd County. It was that rock'em sock'em football, and the strongest guy lives.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Portsmouth always had speed.
Yeah.
And Ironton had speed, but I think Portsmouth over the years, from the time I coached to about the time I left, their speed was better than anybody around here.
Yeah, they had athletes.
Yeah, they had good athletes, big kids.
Yeah, and they played. I'm going to remember covering many a Portsmouth game, and man, you walk away from that, you get a win, you appreciate it.
You're very, very
you're thankful
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this night though is 15-8, a loss, a tough game again. Abrams and Mantle were the leading rushers in that game as well, as that's kind of been the trend now, and so it's win one, lose one. You're 3-4, and you have a game. You got the Little Red Wagon game. You got Hampton High coming.
That's another team.
They're another great team. They're coming to Putnam Stadium as well. Man, it's a great home schedule when you look back at that. So you're 3-4, and I know you're struggling. Let's get to 500. Let's get over the hump. Let's see what we can do. So that game, a great game. It looks like 18-15, Tomcats win.
Yeah.
And I don't know if what you remember about that game. Maybe nothing. I know it's been a long time ago. But obviously a tight ball game.
Yeah, I don't remember a whole lot about that game. I just know it was a big game and a good win. I probably really knew how big it was then.
That was huge then, I think, because that's a quality opponent. That's the second year you've beat them. That's a rival, even though it's across state.
Exactly.
It's still a big rival
Sure,
for Ashland.
Sure. I don't think that will ever die out.
And that's those games are. It seems like Huntington High and Ashland games were just almost always.
And Huntington East too. They were always big,
tight games. So your last three games are a gauntlet. I mean, I don't know that anybody would want, and even in today's world, would want these last three games. You're 4-4 now. You're 500, and can you get over the hump with these three? Here's the lineup: Fort Thomas Highlands, Covington Catholic, and Ironton. Now, even if you think today you had to play those three in a row, you'd feel good if you won one of those games.
Exactly. And I looked at that, and I knew we had to have something big to happen to win it, and our kids would have to play super, and that the other team would have to really overlook it, which possible they could.
Right. You have those three, and one of them is on the road, and that's Fort Thomas, and that's just that's a dreadful place to have to go play. And that's probably it's in late October. It's getting cold. It's a little colder in Cincinnati, in that time. So, and you're playing big bad Fort Thomas, who I think won the state championship that year.
I think they did too. I'm not positive of that.
Great
they won
team.
Quite a few.
Yeah, they won several in a row there.
Yeah.
And of course we talked about that game from the year before, which was unfortunately, the thing everybody remembers about 1968 was, they lost to Fort Thomas really bad that year, 61-0. And I know you didn't forget that either, and never did. And I do have to correct myself. I think our last episode I said that was the last time you played them, even that Ashland played them in the regular season. But actually, this one was the last time that Ashland played them. And we talked last week a little bit about how you tried to get a game with them.
Oh, yeah.
Later.
Yeah, that was later on. And when we had the 71-72 team, the 75 team, I called him and wanted to get a game.
Yeah,
and
no thanks.
That's when the boy who was coaching down there, he was a quarterback at Kentucky, way after.
Yeah.
He said, Herb, I remember when they come down and beat you real bad, and I know you're wanting to play us to do the same thing. And we got that game filled already.
Yeah,
that's what he told me. And then 2 weeks later, I was looking in the paper about trying to find openings. That's Highlands opening game, so I call him again. He said, Herb, I know you want to beat us bad, and you kid. And he said, we're not going to play you.
Yeah, they wanted no part of it. So so you lost to Fort Thomas. The score was 35-14, wasn't 61-0. A fairly competitive game at least, and especially on the road, to play them, you knew it was going to be really hard to beat them.
Yeah, especially how the season's been going.
Right, your season's been kind of up and down.
It was totally opposite of what they were undefeated. We're just struggling.
Right, and you've already been eliminated from the playoffs at this point because you lost to Covington Holmes and Boyd County, who were in the district. So there was no playoffs at stake. Fort Thomas certainly wasn't going to slip up this late in the year either, and they were, they beat you bad the year before, so I'm sure that was in their minds too, and all that. And they won pretty handily, 35-14. It looks like you had trouble getting the running game going. Mantle was your leading rusher that night with 55 yards, and that's not much,
No.
Tom Hagerman was caught several passes in that game.
Yeah, Tom just come out that year, and Tom as Dave's brother.
Yeah, Dave's brother.
And he would have been a really good player, and he get better. He was getting more aggressive as the year went on. He wasn't real aggressive at first, but he started getting he was a good athlete.
This team didn't have that natural quarterback. I mean, Dave was young. He was only sophomore.
I tell you what, Dave Hagerman, let me tell you about him. That guy was as tough as any player I coached. He could have started for any team I had defensively. He would never play quarterback unless we just put him in at the big league, you know. But he had small hands. He couldn't throw the ball very good. But I'll tell you what he could do is run it. And Mark, here's the thing that I thought about it for years, going to the Wishbone during this season.
Yeah, better team.
This is a season I started thinking about it. But I thought this. I said, Herb, you put that Wishbone in, and you start losing, they surely will fire you because you know we won in '67. We won the state championship from a power offense. But you got to have big linemen, big backs to run that offense. And I probably stayed with it too long. I've told my players that I had, you know, that was probably my fault, not changing my offense. I should have been a little more disciplined about myself and not worried about what other people think, and put that Wishbone in quick.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, during this year, we get a hold. I had told Bill Tom to call Texas and Darrell Roy and get him to send a film. And I said, I want all the linemen's responsibilities, who they block on different things, or if they got a scheme, I want their blocking scheme, and if they're the plays they have, I want to know who pulls, what all they do. I want the responsibility of backs, quarterbacks, linemen. And I said, it's going to be a lot, but you see if he will do it. He called him about one night I'd say about 10 o'clock at night. He called me. He was over at school, been over at school for something going on, and he called me and said, you know, there's a package over here for you. He said, you want me to open it? I said, yeah, you open it. I'm on my way. We get over and it's from their film. It's a film and all the stuff. And I said,
so was that in '69 or '70 that you got that?
It was '70s when I
got
it.
Okay,
I'm just getting ahead of it.
Yeah.
And so I run up. I said, he said, what do you want to do? I said, get that film. We're going to go read a little bit of this, and we're going to watch a film first, and I'm going to look at it.
Yeah.
Before, and we sit there and watch that film to about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, we're going to get into that more in that next season. I want to hear more about that, how that worked. The 10th game of the season, it's Covenant Catholic, and it's home. The last 2 games are home at least. And Covenant Catholic, you know, we talked about then. This is only their second year, but as you said, Herb, they're starting to get some players. It's a private school, so you know it's kind of open season.
Exactly.
You know, on who you can get, and it still is, I guess, for that
they
matter.
Go any place they want.
They play where they want. Yeah. And they're starting to build a pretty good team in the Cincinnati area.
Well, at one time they had start over to Ohio to get teams to play them because Kentucky schools quit playing them.
They didn't want anything to do with that.
Exactly.
It's like they're an all-star team or whatever.
Exactly.
You know,
they got a lot of kids from Ohio coming in there to play for them.
Right, and I'm sure when you set this up in '68, it was a 2-game arrangement. Home, you know, we'll play your place,
exactly.
You played our place. Because your first game was at Tomcat.
Yeah.
You know, and so
that's my friend that went to play football with him in college.
Yeah.
And we made it for a 2-year contract.
Yeah, and so here's the second year of it. They come in to Putnam, and man, they put a whooping on you, 35-0.
Yeah.
And actually
I think they beat Highlands that year.
They may have. I think they may have won it that year. That was the only time this team was shut out all season. That game, you had a lot of games with 1 touchdown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games with 1 touchdown. But that was the first time you'd been shut out. And here's the interesting thing: Covenant Catholic shut you out the year before too.
Yeah.
So obviously a great team. Northern Kentucky football. It's hard to beat.
Exactly.
I mean, they can play football up there.
Yeah, they've always been.
And they love it.
Yeah.
Like we do here in Ashland. So now, a losing season is locked up. Unfortunately, it's 4-6. And you close, as you all often did during those days, you close with Ironton. Mm-hmm. And Ashland and Ironton games are kind of like Ashland and Boyd County games. Very similar. Crowds, big crowds, just diehard people who love both their programs, and they want to win that game bad.
Exactly.
And you beat Ironton most times. You didn't this year, 14-8. Another close loss. I look back at this team, Herb, and you had 4 losses by a touchdown. 4 games that were decided by a touchdown. That's a you may win a breaker, a fumble, a penalty, a play or two. This team's a play or two from going 8-3. but they finished the season 4-7. Were you on the hot seat at that point?
Oh yeah, Mark, I was under the hot seat starting from my second year as head coach. Matter of fact, a little bit after the first year, we were 7-3, but we lost 3 ball games.
Yeah,
and it started.
And you lost to Boyd.
Lost to Boyd County.
And that was not good.
You see, Jake, they got bad at Jake Howland in the first year he was here when Boyd County beat us for the first time in history.
Yeah.
Shoot, it was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
So you come back in 69, you lose to Boyd again, and you have a losing season. They haven't had that in, I don't know how many years. I'd have to look back. It's been a while since they've had a losing season. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, I'd say...
I'll look at it here. It's been a while.
It's been there. I don't know who the coach is.
60.
I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean...
There've been a lot of coaches since...
61. So since, it's been 8 years since there was even a losing season at Ashland. So the fans are not used to that.
In 1961?
That was the last one before this one.
Oh.
As far as losing season. Yeah, 61. So it's been 8 years since the Tomcats had been under 500, And, as we've said, the expectation is kind of crazy. So you go into that off season, and I'm sure you're reflecting and saying, we got to get something done here, or we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
The crazies are out.
Exactly.
And they're wanting your hide, Let's get rid of this guy. Let's bring somebody good in here. This guy can't coach, and all that, So 2 years in, it's a decent season. At the first one, 68, 7-3-1, and 69 is 4-7. What do you take away from that 69 season, Herb?
Well, one thing I think is the biggest thing I could think of is I knew all the time in this past year that we had a lot of kids coming back, good sophomore team, really good.
Yeah.
We had a 9th grade class coming in here, was going to be exceptional. They were pretty good sized kids. They were almost big as our kids weren't very big. I had a couple of big kids, but these boys, the ones I had coming weren't super big, but they were fairly big. Back then I'd had a guy 6'1", 225. I thought I had a monster. Where we'd be playing people, maybe have guys 6'3", 6'4", 240.
On this team, Mike Broughton was an All-State lineman.
Yeah.
Or All-State Honorable Mention lineman. Of course, Joe Mantle was an All-State Honorable Mention running back. Abrams has graduated. Mantle's graduated now. Broughton's graduated. You did have some good players. Just didn't have enough of them probably, and you didn't have the size, like you say, that you really needed to run the kind of offense that you guys were running, which you were still running the power out, right? Basically.
See, I didn't start it until 1971.
Yeah,
I'm still on the same offense
that Jake was running.
Yeah.
And when you look at Jake's 2 teams, he had brutes.
Oh yeah, we were big. We had some big kids, and I'll tell you one thing we had that I never had at Ashland. We had kids. We had about, I'd say, 15 kids at 19 years old. There's a big difference in a 19 or 18 and 17.
Big difference.
Big
difference. So, all right. Well, we hope you've enjoyed the second episode of Tomcat Tales with Herb Conley as we discussed that 1969 season when the Tomcats finished 4-7. It was a tough season, but there's better days ahead. Hope you come back and listen to their next episode.